How can we ensure all students meet the rigorous demands of grade level standards? In classrooms with wide-ranging academic needs, scaffolding is a vital evidence-based strategy that maintains high expectations and access for all students. Scaffolding is essential because it provides temporary supports that enable all students to engage with complex or new concepts. It bridges the gap between what students know and what they are learning. It promotes engagement, builds student confidence, fosters independence, and improves retention by structuring learning into manageable chunks. At the start of the year, scaffolds may be necessary for whole group. Although, as students develop mastery of the standard, teachers may reduce scaffolds for individual students as needed. While the classroom we will see today is a 7th grade classroom, scaffolding is appropriate for all grade levels and content areas. Let's go to our 7th grade science class to see how Mrs. Sundahl is supporting her students with several scaffolding strategies.
All right, so we have energy is the ability to do work, and it comes in many different forms. Okay, and I want you to know that energy cannot be created or destroyed, just like when we were doing our chemical reactions last week, right? Whatever we put into the chemical reaction is going to come out the other side of that chemical reaction. Okay, and you need to know what energy is to understand why photosynthesis is so essential to life on Earth. Okay, because energy starts with the energy from the sun. It starts with that photosynthesis that happens in all of our plants. And now we're going to go into photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis is a process in which plants absorb energy from the sun and change that energy into food. More specifically, that energy gets stored in the bonds of a sugar called glucose. This food becomes energy for the plant and for organisms that eat plants. Photosynthesis is a chemical reaction that happens in plants, algae, and some bacteria.
All right, so it's time to fill in the closed notes here, and I want you guys to help me highlight on the board what needs to be filled in on our notes. So if you could please raise your hands and let me know what words need to get highlighted. Olivia.
Change the energy to food.
Change the energy into food. We're going to write those words on our notes. And that's exactly what photosynthesis does, okay? The plant has these special receptors in its leaves that are going to absorb that energy from the sun. And they're going to mix that up with some gases in the air and form a sugar called glucose, which is the plant's food. And now our second line there, this food becomes energy for the plant and for organisms that eat plants. What part of that do I need to highlight? Look at your notes. This food becomes energy for, what gets highlighted? Reagan.
The plant and for organisms that eat plants.
Good. Okay, so make sure you write that in that second part. And now looking at the last section, photosynthesis is what kind of a reaction? Who tells me what can I highlight? Raise your hand. What do I need to highlight for that next part? Mia?
Chemical reaction.
Yes, it's a chemical reaction. All right, we're going to switch into video mode now, okay? And can someone tell me, what do we do before we watch a video? What do we have to do every single time when we have to answer questions about what we watch?
Read the questions first.
We're going to read the questions first, exactly. Okay, so can you please switch over to that brain pop section at the bottom? And let me cue this up here. All right, and I need someone to volunteer to read me the first question because we need to listen for some keywords on what we're going to be listening for in the video. So Reagan, please read number 1 for me.
How do plants make their own food?
How do plants make their own food? And what's the most important thing we're listening for in that section? Own food, okay? Underline the words, own food, okay? When we hear them making their own food, which is very unique, Okay, I don't make my own food within my own body, right? I have to go to the store and buy ingredients. Okay, plants are making their own food. Underline it, please. Down here on the question, own food, right here. All right, who can read number 2 for me? Alana, what chemical makes plants green? What should I be underlining in there so I'm listening for it? Green, yeah, when you hear what makes them green, we need to pay attention, so underline green. Plants make their own food by, okay, water's part of it. Photosynthesis, yes, good, okay. Photosynthesis. Let's spell it correctly. We've got that root word photo. Photo means light, okay? So they're using light to do this process. All right, number 2, what chemical makes plants green? How do I turn that into a sentence? What's my sentence starter? How do I start it? Wakey, wakey. Kimberly, can you start it for me?
She can tell us as green is.
Good. All right, the chemical that makes plants green is, let's listen for it. When you hear it, hand in the air.
It's life's magic trick, making entire forests basically out of thin air. It works for plants because they have all kinds of specialized parts that we don't. Like chlorophyll, the substance in cells that captures light. Chlorophyll also gives plants their green color.
I see some hands. Matthew. Chlorophyll. The chemical that makes plants green is chlorophyll. Hey, it's spelled up here for you. I'm going to write it on the board too, but I want you to make sure that you spell that correctly.
Intentional support empowers students to tackle challenging materials with confidence. Mrs. Sundall's approach demonstrates that high expectations are most effective when paired with flexible tools students need to reach them. Ultimately, mastering the art of scaffolding ensures that every learner has a clear pathway toward academic independence and success.